All right, so welcome to Manifesting with the Moon Cycle. I am excited to kind of dive into this topic a little bit today and have a little discussion around it. There's so much that we can go into, and really everything we're going to talk about today is just kind of getting that introductory information. And if you've done a little manifesting with the moon, hopefully giving some extra little tidbits that maybe you didn't know already. So my mission, so for me, I love helping women cut through the fluff and find spiritual connection through practical ritual and embodiment of their spiritual practice. And I really do believe that through that daily ritual and alignment with our physical body, we can discover the depths of our connection with the world, with the universe, and to the unseen world. And starting from that rooted place of inside first before moving out. So everything we're going to talk about today is really just that tangible energy, that physical connection between the moon and the earth, and how we can tap into that cycle to support ourselves better with our manifestation. So we're going to go through some different phases of the moon. Most people are probably most familiar with new moon and full moon. We hear about those a lot, but we can actually utilize the moon throughout its complete cycle. So the moon circles the earth about once every 27 days, 7 hours, and 43 minutes. I know that sounds pretty precise, but that's about where it is. So together with the Earth and the moon, along with the other planets and their moons, we all circle around the sun. And so when we're talking about the moon, one of the interesting properties is in most cultures, the moon was considered feminine energy. And so it was a reflective or passive energy. But that's still a really powerful energy that we can tap into. There are some cultures that switch things up and say the sun is feminine and the moon is masculine. I don't know enough about them to really touch on it, but we'll just talk about some of the more general understandings today. So the new moon. So we'll consider the new moon kind of the start of a new cycle. So what's happening on a new moon? So when we have that new moon, the moon is 0 to 45 degrees ahead of the sun. And the energy of this new moon stays with us from the date of the new moon through to about 3.5 days after. And this one is all about new beginnings and impulses. So how are we acting on our impulses? It's always an interesting thing as we start to get to know the different energies to start to do some reflective practices and see. So journaling around the moon cycle or going back through your journal even and marking where the new moon was and, what kind of things you got into around that time. And if you reflect back, you might find yourself doing more impulsive things. So it's just kind of a fun thing that you can do if you want to kind of see how the moon affects you. This is really a time for us to set new intentions, plan out our steps towards our larger goals, and to take action on our dreams and innermost desires. So this is where, in a lot of ways, we'll hear about, for the new moon, set your intentions, do your new moon abundance checks. Those are always fun to do, and to really set ourselves up for what we want moving forward into that cycle. The nice thing about the moon cycle, because it is that 27-ish days, we can really look at building blocks. So this new moon, maybe I'm working on a big goal for the year, so I can start with a foundational piece this new moon and grow with that for a moon cycle and then slowly add on. Or each moon cycle can be something completely different. That's the beauty of it, and that's where you can make it your practice. You could work on a big goal over 3, 6 moon cycles and then change things up. You could do kind of a building block over 12 moon cycles, or let each moon cycle be something a little bit different, depending on where you are and what goals and actions you have set out for yourself for the year. So after our new moon, we have a waxing moon. So this is kind of a general term that's used for that space from new moon to full moon. And this is the time where we can really work on concentrating on bringing forward our intentions. This is where we want to learn steps to actively engage with our intention setting and continue to gain clarity on our intention. So we might fine tune it during this cycle. We may just need to do some learning and look into new practices to help bring that energy into our daily life. So the waxing moon period is made up of 3 different phases. And in the first phase, you have the crescent, or the first crescent moon, which is 3.5 days to 7 days after the new moon. And this is really that time where you feel that impulsive side of the new moon. It's a great time for movement, action, and as my coach would say, taking imperfect action. Because when we take action here, when we start that process, that's how we can start to fine tune things for ourselves. So tapping into that energy and that little piece of just stepping forward, even if it's a baby step, that's what this period is really about. And then we move into the first quarter. So this is about 7 days to 10.5 days after the new moon. And this is, we've started to have those impulses. We've maybe taken some imperfect action, and we've learned a little something about the next steps or what feels right for us or what doesn't. And so this is really about shaping the energies and building. So all throughout, we want to reaffirm our intentions. But the first quarter is the time where we're going to want to really kind of look at what we're working with and what needs to be tweaked and how we're building a foundation. So this is really that period where foundations or taking root of our intention is highly auspicious. And then the third piece of the waxing moon cycle is the gibbous moon. And this is about 10.5 days to 14 days after the new moon. And this is as the moon continues to get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. This is when we can start to look at some of the smaller details, do personal growth work, and build our confidence. So we want to do, when we say personal growth work, that's, a wide variety. So some personal growth is really reflective, turning in, journaling, that sort of thing. And all those practices are great. But what we're thinking about during this time is what's some active personal growth that I can do? What is something that I can do that is active? So affirmations, EFT tapping to bring those intentions physically into the body. That's a great example of how we can work on our personal growth in a really active way. So we're utilizing our intentions. We're helping to bring them into the body on a vibratory scale. It's also a great time for doing embodiment practices. So, bringing in maybe a yoga practice that is specific to the type of energy we're trying to build, or you know, going for a Tai Chi class or something along those lines. But the idea is to be a little more active in that personal growth aspect so that we can build our confidence in ourselves. And, this is very solar plexus chakra in a way. So we're getting out of our own way, and we're trying things and building our confidence and stepping out, whether that's baby steps or taking that big leap. It's going to be different for everybody, and that's okay. So from our waxing moon, this is kind of, it culminates into the full moon. And so the full moon energy is 14 to 17 and a half days after the new moon. So this is that big energy. It's like the raw energy of the universe is just lit up and reflecting down from the moon. We're getting the most reflection of the sun. The sun and the moon are both open and active fully in our skies in a way. And so there's no shadows on the moon. There's nothing preventing that light from completely reflecting onto us. So really we have this peaking of energy that happens. And when that energy peaks, we really need to take time to reaffirm our goals, our dreams, desires. I want to reflect on the growth that we've had so far and celebrate it. And I think that's the piece in a lot of moon work that sometimes we miss, is that the full moon isn't just about reassessing your affirmations or your intentions. It's not just about reaffirming them. It's about utilizing that energy and adding energy to it by celebrating how far you've come. Because even if all you could do this moon cycle was to set an intention or say an affirmation out loud to yourself, that's a win. And, this is a time to put on your favorite music, to dance, to sing, and really do something for yourself as we harness in that energy of completion and fully reflect that fullness of the moon. This active, full, raw energy is also why a lot of people set out crystals, tarot cards, and that sort of thing to be cleansed and charged in its light, because it is just pure, raw, spiritual, universal energy that is filling the sky and surrounding us. So you can do moon water. So you can put out a jar of water under the moonlight and get it charged up to bring that fullness in whenever you need it. If while we go into the waning part of the moon, maybe you need a little full moon to perk you up because there's something important happening. Life doesn't always allow us to build everything around the moon cycle. We can just do the best we can to understand the rhythms and then help to support ourselves if something is coming up outside of rhythm. So full moon, big takeaways is completion, harvest, reaffirming our dreams, goals, desires, and celebrating ourselves. So important. Now, as the moon cycle continues, we move into the waning moon portion. And the waning moon also has 3 pieces to it, or 3 sections to it. But this is about the this natural slowing down that occurs after a peak in energy. And we can see this in ourselves, right? We get our peak of energy at some point in the day, and then it's just waiting to be able to go to bed and rest and recharge. And so, in a way, the energies are doing the same thing. They're peaking and then giving space to rest and recharge afterwards. Because both pieces of the cycle are important. We need to slow down because without slowing down, we don't take the time to reflect or to let go of what needs to let go of so we can make space for those big, beautiful dreams that we have. So the waning moon period starts about 3.5 days after the full moon and until about 14 days after. And the first section of this is called the disseminating moon. And this is that 3.5 to 7 days after the full moon. And the energy here is really about kind of an initial banishing or releasing of energy. So we want to slowly let go of the things that aren't quite feeling right, quite fitting right. And this can be thoughts, this can be habits, this can be anything that may be kind of cluttering you energetically when you're working towards something. This is also when we really want to start putting things into practice. So yes, this is a natural slowing down, but this period is not just about releasing what needs to let go. It's also about putting into practice what you learned before the full moon. So we did our learning back through the waxing moon. We did the study and looking into what may work, what new habits might be better for us, or what activities or actions do we need to implement in our lives to create that space for that energy that we would like to bring into our lives. And so this period is really about letting ourselves put that into practice. Put the books down, stop looking for the next thing. It's so easy when there's so many great tools and tips and tricks out there and so many great teachers and classes. We can really get caught up in that kind of shiny object syndrome, right? And so putting that away and kind of putting the blinders on and just putting into practice what you've already learned, putting into practice so that you know what works and what doesn't work. Because anything that doesn't work, you can let it go. But we need to dedicate to putting it into practice before we move on to the next thing. When we hit about 7 days after the full moon, from 7 to about 10.5 days, this is when we hit that last quarter of the moon. And the energy here, and it sounds a little intense, but this is the energy of destruction and dismantling. And, you know, I struggled putting the word destruction in here because it can be, you know, most often is associated with something kind of negative. But destruction is, we're not talking about, you know, when you think about destructive forces, you're thinking, oh my gosh. But I mean destruction in the sense of like the goddess Kali, how Kali has that face of she is the destroyer and the creator, right? So this destruction, this is really the dismantling of those final pieces of things that aren't working for us. It's a deep release of old habits and patterns and things that are affecting our ability to implement our new knowledge and our skills. So this is kind of like a high level destruction in the sense that it can feel kind of gnarly, right? It can feel yucky or it can even feel a little bit painful sometimes when we're letting things go. But when we're letting go of things for our highest good, we come out the other side. And, this is a change thing. A lot of us are afraid of change. So, change can feel destructive. And that's what we're getting into, is that really deep removing, letting go, and putting our foot down with our boundaries. That's what this last quarter is all about. And then we come to kind of the end of the cycle here. So this is still part of the waning cycle, but the dark moon definitely is a big piece of the whole cycle. So the dark moon, or the balsamic moon, this happens about 10 and a half to 14 days after the full moon. And it's a time of really deep rest and reflection. We're coming to the end of a cycle. We're coming to the end of a journey. And this is our space to reflect. This is when we let go of active manifestation, because we do need to let go of active manifestation and simply be with our energy where we are right now. It's almost like that hermit time, that in the big cycle of things, that space that we really feel like going within during winter, right? We have these little mini winters for this period of time in each moon cycle. And so when we give ourselves space to let go of active manifestation, to journal, meditate, read, and not read for learning or to get something new, but reading in a gentle place. So this is reading inspirational poetry or listening to inspirational music, things that help us to slow down and to reflect. This is a time when we want to do restorative style yoga or yin yoga, something to bring us down, slow us down, and ground us into ourselves. Because when we set this time up for ourselves, when we set this time aside, we create a space for a more thoughtful and aligned intention for our next new move. Because we have a better idea of where we need to go. Because when we rest, when we let go of that, I need to go concept, we find that there's a lot of stuff that we probably didn't realize we already had right in front of us. And so the dark moon teaches us that space that is needed to reflect. Gratitude practices are phenomenal during this time. This is when you really want to dive into that gratitude practice and see what worked and what didn't work. This didn't feel good for me. Or, this is where I need to do a little more work. I want to have a morning practice, but it kind of fell to the wayside, So it helps us to look back and see where we might have gone wrong with the steps that we wanted to implement to build our intention, so that the next time around we can maybe set ourselves up for even better success. And so that is kind of a rough what we're looking at through this 27 days, 7 hours, and 43-ish minutes of the moon cycle. And it's interesting because you can see how this cycle that happens, these 27-ish days, is really reflective of the larger cycles that we can see through the seasons even. And as we can start to tap into these, as we align in with the natural energies that are already around us, we can lean into moving with the stream of energy, lean into moving with the universe. rather than fighting against the current because we feel like we need this right now, or it needs to be a certain way, or we need to constantly go, 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 go. Following the cycles of the moon, whether we're in whatever we're doing, I mean, anything that we're working on, it goes down, it ultimately becomes a form of manifestation, right? But the moon cycle, when we can work with it, we can add a little more ease and a little more grace into our process. So from here, now that's, the rundown, that's your basics of the kind of the bigger cycle of the moon there. But, as you start working with it, we can start adding in, extra pieces of information to help tailor or, if there's something really special that we're working on, we can plan ahead and create a bigger space for it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the astrological influences on the moon. And these really, it's more like adding extra spices to your dish. Or if you like hot sauce, this is like having a perfectly good meal, but adding a little hot sauce to kick things up. When we add in the astrological influences, we're kind of just spicing up our practice a little bit. So it is absolutely not necessary. But if it's something that you'd like to do, there are some really amazing apps out there you can get that will tell you kind of what sign the moon is in. If you don't, there's so many tools that we can follow online with it, which is fantastic. So let's get into some of the astrological influences. So starting out from the top of the zodiac, Aries. The basic energy of Aries is power, force, energy, expression, self-reliance, and assertiveness. Colors, if you're working with an Aries moon, I would bring in red candles to help spice things up. And the element here is fire. So with Aries, it's a flashbang, right? It's fiery, it's go, it's boom, I'm getting results. So we have to be careful because Aries might not be the best sign if we're working with the signs if we want something long term. So this is kind of those quicker or smaller steps towards a bigger goal, as opposed to setting out a big goal in Aries, because it can sometimes be hard to keep the momentum going. And then we move into Taurus. So Taurus is associated with the element of earth. It's you can use orange, red colors here. And the energy of Taurus is stability, peace, affection, responsiveness, artistic ability, devotion. Taurus is really about comfort, right? So anything that you're doing around your home, this is a good, right? We're thinking stability, so home, family. When we're setting intentions for a happy home, Taurus is a great time to help to cement that in. Gemini is, the energy here is, it's all about intellect, awareness, agility, multitasking. So Gemini is a great moon to when we're working on our meditation skills, when we're going to or thinking about starting something new or starting a new course. If we open up those books when we have the moon in Gemini, we can kind of kickstart that intellect and help carry it through. So anything that we're doing to bring in new learning, new knowledge, or if we need to be able to multitask or have that mental agility, Gemini is a great sign for that. Cancer. Cancer is associated with the element of water. Colors here would be kind of an amberish hue. Uh, Cancer is all about emotions, maturity, psychism, magnetism, sympathy. So when we're working with, when we're trying to do work with our subconscious mind, Cancer is a great sign. When the moon is in Cancer, it's a great time to work on our emotional intelligence, tapping into our emotions, balancing our emotions, and tapping into the depths of our subconscious well. It's also a good time to work on some of our intuitive abilities. And we have Leo. So Leo is another fire sign. Color here would be yellow, and your energies are strength, positivity, leadership, generosity, and kindness and success. So it's a fire energy, but it's a fixed fire sign. So it's a little more stable than Aries. And so when we're working on building our confidence to become that leader, or if we want to start becoming a coach or a mentor, Leo energy is a great energy to harness and bring forward to bring out our inner stage person. Or when we're tapping into our strengths or need to do some mindset work with positivity, doing that work around a moon in Leo is going to be beneficial. And we have Virgo, who is an earth sign again. Colors here are yellow, green, and the energy of Virgo is about analysis, choices, precision, finding solutions. So this is a very practical moon when the moon is in Virgo. We want to get into practical solutions. We want to have practical steps to work on. So if you're working on something that's a little bit bigger, this might be a good moon to tap into to build or develop those little steps moving forward. We have Libra, which is another air sign. Color here would be emerald. Your basic energy with a Libra moon is getting into the beauty of life, love, sociability, cooperation, originality. This is also the sign of balance and justice, right? So when we're thinking about when we need to network or when we need to develop partnerships, this is a great sign for the moon to be in. Scorpio is a water sign, blue-green in color, so you can use that for your candles or anything else in your space while you're doing your intention setting. And the basic energy for Scorpio is about intensity, rebirth, transformation, wisdom, and karma. So this is when we're really wanting to dig deep, this is a great sign if you're ready to do some intense shadow work, making sure that you are in a good place to do that and that you have lifelines in place or people that you can call on to talk to, whether that's professional assistance or just a friend. If you're going to do some deep work during Scorpio, you want to make sure you have a good support system to do it. And then we have Sagittarius. So this is another fire sign. The colors we're working with here, though, are blue. And the basic energy is expansion, generosity, faith, understanding, hope, and charity. So when we're doing self-exploration practices, when we're exploring our spirituality, when we're looking to grow or expand, this is a great sign for the moon to be in for us to work with. Capricorn would come back to Earth. The color would be indigo. Capricorn is about structure, patience, thrift, diplomacy, restraint. This is a really great moon to work with if you need to, if you're working towards something where you also need to save money to get there. This will give you that structure. It will give you that extra boost of thriftiness to help you get to where you want to go. Aquarius is surprisingly an air sign. I always get it mixed up. I always think it's a water sign. I don't know. It's the name. Color would be violet, so that's the color we'd be using here. And it makes sense with the basic energy. The basic energy is all about independence, authenticity, universal love, inventiveness, resourcefulness, and perception. So, there's so much that that's like the basic energy, and you kind of pick out what. So when we're needing to step forward into our authenticity, Aquarius is a great sign to work with. When we need to start thinking outside of the box, Aquarius moon is a great moon to help with that. And we'll round it out with Pisces. So element here is water, color is crimson. The basic energy is visionary, inspiration, creativity. So this is when we need to get into those creative processes. This is when there's that something inside of us that needs to get out. We need to find a way to express it. When we're feeling like we need to develop our expression, Pisces is a great moon to work with for that. And I put together just some little pieces with a little more details of some different ways that we can, kind of some more specific examples. We went through the basic energy of the different astrological signs, but I wanted to give some really solid examples for moving forward. So get into those. So, and I tried to think of kind of common things as much as possible. So some of the examples, banishing negativity. So you want to do that during a waning moon phase. Any part of the waning moon is good. This astrological signs that help to support when we're trying to get rid of negativity are Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. And I also put in some herbal correspondences. So we can pick candles in these scents, have essential oils in these scents. We could do smoke cleansing with these herbs or incenses if you've got a nice organic incense. We can add those in to give this a boost. So whenever we're setting intentions around banishing negativity, we can use these pieces to help boost that. Buying a car, it happens, right? We all need to buy a car at some point in time for the most part, unless you're biking everywhere. But I guess this would work if you're needing a new bike too. So you want to do this during a waxing moon. So at any of the points during the waxing moon, astrological signs that help support would be Sagittarius, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. Their energies will help to be really supportive in moving forward with that intention. And then the herbal correspondences are ginger, basil, cinnamon, lime peels, marjoram, and nutmeg. Settling of family disputes. We all have times where we go through things with our family. So if that moon cycle, we're trying to build better relationships or trying to let go of things that just aren't working within the family dynamic. We want to use the disseminating moon, so that little bit of space just after the full moon. It's got a softer releasing energy than the next quarter. We don't want to be too far into it where we're just dismantling everything. We want to have a gentle release to create space for that healing. So the astrological sign you want to work with is Libra, because Libra is all about balance. and some herbal correspondences that help to support this: lavender, catnip, vervain, and morning glory. And so catnip, I know it might be weird in there, but in herbal correspondences, catnip is fantastic for sharpening our vision and supporting our third eye. So that's fun fact about catnip. Cleaning, so, and not that you should wait till the waning moon to clean your house, but when we're doing those big cleans, you know, the big spring clean or the fall big, I like to do a big clean with the change of the seasons. And it's really supportive if you can set that intention and do that cleansing, releasing work during the waning moon. If that waning moon is in Scorpio or Capricorn, it's all the more supportive of cleaning and clearing things out. And then herbal correspondences would be lemon peel, allspice, mint, pine, orange peels, any citrus peels really. And you can take those citrus peels, put them in water, and just let them boil on the stove. Keep an eye on it. Don't let the water boil down. But you get a really nice, fresh steam that helps to scent through the whole house. You throw in a little bit of allspice or cinnamon in there, and it smells really nice. And just a couple more as we come around to wrap up. Protection work is something that we all do. So protection work can really be done during any moon phase. Astrological signs that can help to support our protection are Capricorn or Scorpio. And then herbal correspondences: bamboo, basil, cedar, cactuses are phenomenal for protection. So if you're doing something about protecting your home, I always say get a little cactus that you can put in your window. The little spikes help to capture and prevent negative energies coming into the home. It's almost like, I guess, kind of like how, the idea of how a dream catcher would work, right? It kind of catches that energy before it can come in. Garlic and mint are also very protective. If we want to work on ancestral work, the waning moon again is an optimal time to do this because this is the time of inner reflection. That's why the waning moon is a little more supportive for that, but you really can do it anytime. It just gives an extra boost to it. The astrological signs would be Scorpio, Virgo, or Cancer if you can. These can help you tap in a little deeper into those roots and get more into that energetic connection. Herbal correspondences: dandelion, rose, geranium, moss, marigold, and cinnamon are all helpful and supportive. Laying of foundations, and this can be very literal, like laying down the foundations if you're building a new shed in your backyard or if you're building a house. Your builders might think you're nuts, but if you can lay the foundation on the full moon, that's going to bring the optimal energy into the home. If it can be in the astrological sign of Taurus or Leo, all the better. And then herbal correspondences when we're laying down foundations for something new. Bay, plantain, carnation, and thistle are all beneficial. And then we have releasing negative relationships. So when we want to release, let go, kind of that, if you do cord cutting, this would be kind of that time. So you want to do the waning moon or the last quarter. Astrologically, Scorpio, Capricorn, or Aquarius would be beneficial moons to do this work in. And then herbal correspondences: black pepper, chili, clove, mint, basil, and frankincense can all be supportive energies while you're doing that work to help release the relationship and support yourself during that process. So I will open it up if there's anything that anybody would like to say in just a moment. I will open things up so we can chat kind of after. So just to round things out, thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like to stay in touch, there's all of my places, and I will send out the PowerPoint to share with you and to use going forward. So thanks so much for joining me today. If you'd like to stay in chat, please feel free to. Otherwise, have a good night, but I'm going to turn off the recording.